All right, so you're ready to dive in, and not just like a casual dip in the pool. We're talking full-on scuba diving, exploring the underwater world.
Absolutely.
And you don't want to just scratch the surface, right?
hmm
You want the full low-down gear, certifications, all of it.
Yeah, you want the real deal.
And that's what this deep dive is all about. We're going deep into the official certification materials from FIDAS, the Spanish Federation of Underwater Activities. Think of it as a sneak peek into their one-star diver course.
Which is awesome because it's honestly more than just learning to breathe underwater, It's about understanding how this whole other environment works. Pressure, light, even how our bodies deal with temperature underwater.
It's like a whole different planet down there with its own set of
Yeah.
rules. What were some of the biggest surprises for you when you were first starting out?
Well, let's take vision, for example.
Oh,
We all know things look different underwater, right? But the why is really cool. See, light bends differently underwater, so objects appear like 25% larger and closer than they really are.
wait, so everything's magnified underwater. No wonder people get those amazing photos down there.
Exactly. But imagine trying to navigate in that environment, right? Your brain has to adjust. It's like a sensory adaptation you have to make for diving.
That's wild. Okay, so let's talk about the gear because, man, the source material mentions a lot. Masks, fins, something called BCD. It all sounds kind of intense.
Well, it's all about adapting to those challenges we're talking
Huh.
about. Like the BCD, that stands for Buoyancy Control Device. It's basically like a vest that helps you control how much you float or sink by adjusting the amount of air in it.
So it's kind of like wearing your own personal submarine control panel.
In a way, yeah, it lets you achieve this thing called neutral buoyancy. It's that feeling of being weightless, just perfectly suspended in the water. It's a super important skill for divers, helps them move easily and conserve energy.
Okay, that actually sounds incredible. But like we're learning to breathe underwater, regulate temperature, control buoyancy. What about just seeing clearly down there?
Right, that's where the dive mask comes in. But it's not just like swimming goggles that cover your eyes, it actually covers your nose too.
Yeah.
That's so you can equalize the pressure in your ears and sinuses as you go deeper. Really important for comfort and safety.
Wow, I never even thought about that. So it's like every piece of gear serves a really specific purpose, all tied to those unique underwater conditions.
Exactly. You're not just diving with this stuff, you're basically wearing a life support system that lets you explore a whole different world. It's pretty amazing.
Okay, so we've got the gear down. We're starting to wrap our heads around this whole different world underwater.
Mm.
But how do you actually go from like land dweller to confident scuba diver? What's the training actually like?
Well, the FETUS program, they structure their one-star diver training in two main phases, right? So you've got confined water first, and then you move on to open water.
Okay, so start small and work your way up. Makes sense to me.
Exactly. Like you wouldn't jump into the ocean without knowing how to swim first. So, confined water, this usually takes place in a pool or maybe a controlled area of open water, where it's still kind of like a pool environment. The focus is on getting comfortable with all the equipment, mastering those basic skills, but in a really safe and controlled setting.
So what kind of skills are we talking? Is it like scuba boot camp?
You'll learn things like how to clear your mask if water gets in, what to do if your regulator gets knocked out of your mouth, that thing you breathe through. And then, of course, getting that neutral buoyancy down pat. Remember, we talked about that. Plus, you'll learn all about using your dive computer, how to monitor your depth, your air supply, how long you can safely stay down, all that good stuff.
Man, that sounds intense. And then open water, that's where you take it all out to the ocean or a lake, right? Huh. The real deal.
You got it. Now you're dealing with currents, maybe some changes in visibility, and of course, all those amazing underwater creatures. But the cool thing is, because of all that confined water prep, you're ready.
The source material kept talking about the importance of a diver's attitude. And I'm curious, like, what does that actually mean when we're talking about being underwater? It's got to be more than just being excited about seeing a cool fish.
Right. Yeah, it goes way beyond that. It's more about having this calm, aware mindset throughout the entire dive. So you're
Yeah.
constantly checking your air supply, your depth, your dive time, all while staying aware of your surroundings, and super importantly, your dive buddy.
That's interesting because it's like this balance of total excitement about where you are, but also this intense focus you need to stay safe.
Exactly. You can't just get lost in the moment down there. And that's why having a dive buddy is so crucial. It's more than just having someone to high five after you see a cool fish.
Yeah, like a real lifeline.
For sure. They're
Yeah.
your backup, your extra set of eyes. You rely on each other, especially if something unexpected happens. You have to be able to communicate and know you can count on each other down there.
So it circles back to what we were talking about with the gear, right? It's about respecting the power of the ocean and being prepared.
100%. And the more knowledge and awareness you have, the more you can just relax and enjoy the whole experience. And that brings us to,
This whole dive buddy thing, it's like you're down there for this amazing personal experience,
Mhm.
but it takes real teamwork too, right?
It really does. And that whole feeling, that camaraderie, it usually goes way beyond just you and your buddy. There's a whole community of divers out there who share that same passion for the underwater world.
That's so cool. And speaking of exploring, the FADA's material mentions this B1E certificate. Is that like leveling up in the diving world?
It is. It's your ticket to going deeper,
Yes.
literally. Like you've proven you have the skills and knowledge to handle more challenging dives, greater depths, different conditions, all that.
So you're not just sticking to the shallow reefs anymore.
Mhm.
What all does it take to get to that level?
Well, for one, you need to log at least 20 dives after you get that initial certification.
Wow, 20 dives, that's commitment. I bet those dives are pretty incredible though.
They really are. And each one gets you more experience, you get more confident, you keep honing those skills. By the time you hit that B1E level, you're comfortable planning your own dives, dealing with different currents, visibility changes, even assisting other divers if you need to. It's a process.
Yeah, it's a real journey. It's not just checking boxes. You're becoming a better, more knowledgeable diver every
Yeah.
step of the way.
And the journey doesn't end at B1E. There's B2E, B3E. Each one opens up even more specialized diving experiences.
Okay, you got to give me some examples. What kind of next level diving adventures are we talking about here?
Well, picture this. You're diving down into this old shipwreck, right? Complete silence except for your breathing, and you're exploring these hidden chambers, picturing the history. Or imagine a night dive. Everything's different. Illuminated by your dive light, all these bioluminescent creatures, maybe even some like nocturnal predators out hunting. It's a whole different world down there at night.
Man, that's incredible. I'm getting chills just thinking about it.
And that's just the start. There's cave diving, ice diving, deep diving, each one with its own challenges and rewards. It's amazing.
Wow, so many adventures. And to think, it's all right there beneath the surface.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's say someone's listening to this and they're hooked. What are the actual steps they need to take to get started on this whole underwater journey?
Well, the FETIS material is really clear about this. First thing, find yourself a good, reputable dive club or center. That's going to be your go-to for everything. The courses, the certifications, they'll help you with gear rental, maybe even organized trips. They've got you covered.
So it's not like you got to show up with a shopping list of gear and a scuba dictionary on day one.
Not at all. They'll walk you through the whole process. You will need a medical statement from a doctor just to make sure you're good to go physically, that you're fit for diving. That's super important.
Yeah, safety first. Makes
Yeah.
total sense. And then what about that Federation license you mentioned earlier?
They usually handle that for you at the dive center, too. It's basically insurance in case anything happens while you're diving. Gives you that peace of mind.
Smart. So it sounds like finding a good dive center, that's really key. And then they can kind of help you figure out the rest.
Exactly. They're your mentors, your guides, and a lot of times they become lifelong friends who share that passion for diving.
Man, this has been awesome. I mean, we went from literally feeling the pressure underwater to exploring shipwrecks. For anyone listening, if your sense of adventure is fired up right now, you are not alone.
Like we've been saying, it's a whole other world down there, full of wonder and excitement, and the best part is, it's open to anyone willing to take that plunge.
So what are you waiting for? Find a local FIDAS-affiliated dive center near you and start your own underwater adventure. Until next time, keep exploring.